Welcome, everybody, to the Resilient Podcast. My name is Neil Tan, and I'm your host today. Today, we've got a great guest, Miles Wen, who is the founder and also CEO of Fano Labs. Welcome, Miles, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming in. So, why don't we just kick it off with like a quick introduction of yourself, and we can go from there.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Hey everyone, I'm Miles and Fano, CEO of Fano Labs. And also I'm adjunct assistant professor at Hong Kong University. So, of course, my primary job is to run a company, but I also do a part-time teaching job at a university as well. And my company has actually been an AI company that we founded since 2015. So before we started the company, we used to be a whole bunch of academia from the University of Hong Kong. In 2015, we spun off our research lab and decided to run it as a commercial company. And when we started, we were thinking about we want to turn, our research technology in the lab into something that's tangible and commercially usable. So that's the ambition when we started. And we've been doing AI technology for the better parts of the past decade. So for us, the primary thing we do is actually being analyzing human languages. So the things we do in general is you give me an audio and we get a machine to tell you inside the audio how many different speakers are there. So are there any particular speakers that we know? So that means there are three guys in there, one of them is Miles, one female unknown, and another a male which is also unknown. So we tell you that. We also look for any places where people are overlapping with each other. It's A and B talking at the same time. If there's overlap, then we try to recover the speech signals from the overlaps. And we say, hey, A and B talking at the same time, and we recover that and say, hey, A said this, B said this. And after that, we also analyze the tonal changes, the volume changes, the tempo changes, the speed changes, kind of stuff to look for anomalies. We only give you signals like somebody having shaky voices. We give you that signal, but we don't necessarily tell you what that means, right? Because somebody have a shaky voice could be he's sick, could be he's on drugs, or could be like he's excited, anxious, nervous, or could be just feeling cold, right? Also could happen. You have to make a big decision on the context, based on the context. But we give you the anomalies. There's something really going off in this way the sound. And after that, we also look for how many languages do the people speak in there. Did somebody, like just one of the two persons, speak multiple languages in a mixture way, or was somebody switching to a different language? If yes, what's the other language that one of the speakers was speaking? That gives us information about like where might this person come from, where might the person was got educated. And of course, after that, we turn everything into text and we further analyze on a text level. What did they say? Did anybody mention anything in particular that we might be interested in, such as did somebody mention a stock name, a person's name, location, venue, event, so on and so forth? We analyze for this. Sometimes we also generate a summary, like here's an audio with three people. A summary of A said this, a summary of B is this, a summary of C is this. We also give a summary of that. And typically we analyze data in very large volumes, and then we look for different kind of business applications. And then we just like we analyze those. One thing we do is with the power of machine is actually typical when you have if you give a machine 1 hour of clock time to run through an open of audios, our machine can finish processing over 1,000 hours of audio within just 1 hour.
Right.
You can go like really speed up the entire process. And of course, we analyze different kind of insights based on who is using our technologies, who is our client, what's the use case, what they're going to use for, and who is going to look at the results. So we do all of those. So and then of course we've been running for quite a few years. So we currently have about 75, 80 full-time employees, plus 100 plus consultants. So we actually engage lots of consultants to help us do quite a few of the language work. So because do many languages such as Bahasa, we do Tamil, we do this kind of Thai, we do Arabic, we do French, we do we also do like which languages like Vietnamese. We're also adding German, like all the variants of German. Also adding supports for Dutch. So we're also adding supports for the Indonesian languages, including Indonesian Bahasa and the Javanese, and also quite a whole bunch of Indian languages. So we're adding all of those. So that's why we have a whole bunch of consultants working with us to tell us what's going on with the language, what's the special nuances in that particular language. If somebody give you said this, is that what kind of accent is that? We need people to give us that kind of insights. So we have several hundred people doing that with us. And core team about 80. We currently have 4 offices with offices in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Shenzhen.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, that's like, I mean, over the course of almost 7, 8 years that you guys have done this, right? So, I mean, what are the typical use cases that you see? I mean, you're probably focused on several different sectors, and inside of those sectors, there's probably different types of use cases, right?
Yep. The most popular use case we have right now is actually with the financial institutes. So in our business, we have three major segments. There's a financial sector, which we look at all the financial companies, like banks, insurance companies, like funds, that kind of stuff. And the second, we also have a sector for the public sector, regulators, and the governments. And also a third sector is primarily for the general customer service, which we're talking about enterprises, telecoms, airlines, so on and so forth. So our most popular use case right now is actually for the financial industry. What we analyze. So basically, when a bank, you go to the bank. Let's say you go to the bank, you open a bank account, or you want to do some transaction. You want to buy some assets, you want to sell some assets, that kind of stuff. So if you go to the bank and try to do that kind of conversation, the entire conversation with the banker will be recorded. So
Right.
that's basically the law says, the regulation says you have to record it
You're
because
talking about in the branch, or you're talking
in a
about on
branch,
the phone, or
in a branch, over the phone, over Zoom,
okay.
whichever means, as long as it's possible to record, they're gonna
Yep.
record it.
Right.
So that's required by most banks.
Okay.
And I think that the reason for I to record it is because, let's say, for instance, Neil, you came to my bank,
Yeah.
you bought this kind of asset, this kind of a fund,
Yep.
and we do a whole bunch of selling, and you turn out losing a lot of money,
Right.
and you're gonna come to me, very likely you're gonna come to me, say, hey
Yeah.
Miles, you lied to me, you didn't say this, you didn't tell me that,
Right.
so that's why I lost money. So you need to compensate. So
Right.
that's very natural is what happens. So
Mm.
that's why for the sake of protecting both the consumer, the investors, and the bank, the regulators, which the government set a rule, say, hey, how about we record this? Now we have a record. This is how we sold you. This is why you came to buy. And these are things we told you. If you lost money, well, we are doing our best job. Sorry, you cannot come back claim us.
Mm.
So that's why they have to do this. But of course, they also want to make sure that there's no, like, nobody was saying something that's forbidden. For instance, like you come to buy, there's so many products where if a customer came to the bank, say, I want to buy this, then it's okay the banks sell to you. But if a banker come to you and say, hey, how about buy this? This is great. You can make a lot of money.
I see.
That's solicitation. It's not
Right.
okay.
Right.
And of course, it's not like you definitely cannot solicit. You can
Mm.
solicit, but in general, if you solicit, you need to be very careful about how you do that job. If you do a sales pitch like you exaggerate any facts,
Right.
you'll be liable. Right?
Mm.
Especially if you're talking about big transaction, that can be very very consequential for you if things go wrong. So that's why they have the banks have so many guidelines about what they have to do, but behind the scene they also have this control team, so risk management, the control guys. These are the guys who will do sample checks on the sales recordings. They
Right.
find, hey, what's going on, or let's say, and you would come to my bank, I record the transaction for you, so the transaction, and I put a remark say, hey, this transaction was done under the instruction, a verbal instruction from a client. Then some of the control team will come and look for the recording.
Right.
What did you say? Did you really tell me that it was under your instruction? Because there was actually a whole lot of issues. Like there were some very bad apples over the years. Like somebody doing unauthorized trading on bank customers' account. Like I bought things without your permission, so a banker did that.
Wow.
It happened, but in the
So
history.
he just took off and just decided, hey, I'm going to trade your book,
Yes,
and
and then
just like a
if you
rogue
make
trader
money,
kind
you're
of thing.
fine. But you're not
Right.
making money, that's
Right.
really bad. What's going
Right.
on with that?
Yeah.
And there's also sometimes when this typically when this is really bad, it can be a mistake. But oftentimes it's a real genuine, it was intentional, typically
Mm.
something else associated. There was also, I think, a year ago, 2 year or two ago, there was a SFC slapped a big fine. There was actually, I think they will send somebody to court. It was like this guy was from a bank, from not a bank, but from a wealth management firm. He was trading on a customer's account, and while he was trading, he also siphoned some of the money to his personal account. He took some of the money away because the customer was rich. He's like the customer would not easily notice a few million gone,
Right.
but they found it out, right?
Right.
So that's something that's become jailable. So, but the thing, the organization will be liable, responsible as well, because they are supposed to. They employ the bankers. They need to do their job. So that's why the control team will just go look for all the trades. You know, for say, if that transaction was done under verbal instruction from a client, they need to find out where did you give the verbal instruction. What did you say?
Mm.
And then does the real transaction match whatever you told me?
Mm.
And also sometimes if is there a solicitation? If this one is like the banker say, oh, I did not solicit, the customer just came. They need to come. Did you really not solicit? Did you have any words that might constitute as a solicitation? And they will have different kind of risk assessment on that part. And oftentimes there's also like I sell a product to you, whether it's solicited or not non-solicited. Then there are a whole bunch of risk disclosure I have to tell you.
Right.
Like this is a corporate bond.
Right.
Like corporate bond is not risk free.
Yes.
It's risky.
Right.
Banks, companies can default. As a
Right.
matter of fact, they will sometimes.
Right.
And in those cases, did I tell you that this bond could default?
Mm.
Did I tell you that? or some assets, some funds, maybe there's a currency risk, right? This one is tied to FX, certain FX. If the exchange rate between RMB and US dollar, for instance, fluctuate, your value will go down, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So did I tell investor that? And typically, for that's something that the banks will also need to go check.
Right.
If I did not tell you the risks, then but I facilitate a transaction, then if you lose money, the bank will be liable. All right,
Right.
but partially liable depending on how it pan out. So that's why people will come and listen,
Sure.
and their whole job is to listen. It's very expensive. First of all, getting these people to listen is very important. It's very expensive because you cannot hire junior guys to do it. You got to be senior people. But listening to other people trading, it's very very painful.
Right.
It's very time consuming, and
Yeah.
more importantly, this is really like you can only afford a 2 to 3% of sampling.
Right.
But the majority part you're not covering it. You don't even know what's happening in there.
Right.
So what we do with our technology most of the time, we work with the banks, we tap their recordings and say, how about we analyze for you?
Right.
So instead of having your team, random sample,
Yeah.
we analyze everything. We tell you which recording contains a potential solicitation
Right.
with or without a transaction.
Right.
Because you might solicit in one, like you came to my branch and solicited me once, you didn't buy, you come up the other day,
Yep.
you bought. And I
Right.
say, oh, I did not solicit, but you solicited me like 3 days ago.
Yes.
So those kind
Right.
of things we can also dig out because we can identify the entire process.
Right.
And also if there's a transaction, if it's a sales process, well, let's say you're selling a copper bond, the bank may have 40 steps you have to go through. Did you say everything, all the 40 steps? Did
Right.
you make all the 40 disclosures? Or sometimes you need to send an email to customer to double confirm. Did you tell the customer you're going to send an email?
Yep.
Or did you send an email?
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
So these are things we analyze it, and we're gonna attack for like situations where like your banker tell a customer this is gonna be a short bet. You're gonna make a lot of money from this. Everybody's making money out of it. The kind of stuff it's not okay, by the way.
Right. Right.
If you said that, we're gonna flag it. Hey, there's something wrong. You should not
Right.
supposed to say it, and we're gonna flag it. And the control team and take a look. So and of course that just includes. We don't necessarily tell the banks you're gonna save your manpower on control,
Sure.
but at least we make the job more bearable.
Sure.
Because you don't have to listen. You don't have to listen. The entire thing is you check the record, the signals. I give you the instance like he said this banker said this recording. Somebody said this one, which is not okay. You check it out. So we make the job a lot easier, and we allow them to just increase the efficiency by 100-fold. Actually, sometimes 50 times, 100 times,
Wow.
and we can do 100% sampling, scale screening on everything that's happening inside
Like
the
every
organization.
conversation, basically.
Every conversation
Right.
we can
Right.
screen it for you.
Right.
And then
So it's like a huge net that's just kind of,
yes,
and then
exactly.
it's like bum 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 bum, like red flagging.
Reflect that, yes.
Right. Right.
And sometimes we also there was also interesting talk from one of our clients is actually they said, hey, we have this your sales head get really mad because all the banks, all the sales guys say,
Right.
what's wrong with you guys? You monitor everything we're saying, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be very very scary.
Yeah.
So we eventually said for the banks, how about we turn a signal in, we send the signal to your sales directly as well.
Yeah.
So that means if you had a transaction, we identify something, we don't just inform your control guys, we
Sure.
tell you as well.
Right.
So
Right.
you can make the direct corrections.
Yeah.
Call the customer. Hey, sorry, Mr. Customer, I forgot to say this. How about this?
Yes.
You supplement it.
Yes.
If you're genuinely not doing bad things,
Yes.
now we'll give you a chance to fix it.
Yeah.
And because also this one, you also as another benefit. Benefit is when typically the way banks do control for human sampling is typically a delay, a huge latency between the transaction happened and when something got caught up.
Right.
But the thing is, in the middle of time, the market already moved.
Right.
If the asset was depreciating over the time, and you call the customer, say, sorry, I forgot to tell you this, guess what the customer will do? They say, okay, let's cancel the order.
Yep.
But who's going to bear the losses?
Right.
The bank will bear the losses.
Sure.
So that means if you can shorten the time from this like few weeks delay to near instantaneous,
Yep.
you don't bear the market risk. The market is not moving yet or not moving much yet.
Right.
Or because when the market is not moving much yet, if the customer is genuinely buying, the chance of canceling an order, it's much lower.
Sure.
So that also a side benefit we can bring to the banks for doing
Right.
that.
Right. So it's almost like more preventative, if you want to say. Like in
Yes.
some ways, like you have prevention versus like it's not a reaction. It's being proactive in terms of the way that you approach like our regulatory and compliance space, right?
Yes, so we do both. There's like a more reactive approach,
Sure.
there's more proactive approach.
Right.
It depends on the timeline and priorities of the bank.
Right, right, right. And how, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a reaction because there's just too massive of a sort of organization and too many different conversations and
Yep.
so forth, right? So it's more of like, trying to catch those and then putting red flags on them and having them go through it, whether manually or not. to identify that, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
most actually, as a matter of fact, most of the banks are who are working with us are gradually moving toward a preventive approach
Okay.
because that's the direction that will sit better with the sales division because
Right.
after all, banks have to make money,
That's right.
and
That's
who
right.
make money for them? The sales team, right?
Right. Right. That's right. So yeah, they can't be making those types of mistakes inside of the front end of sales and things like that, right? So
Exactly.
I think this is kind of the key. And then so when you were talking about it earlier, so you can identify people. So, who's inside of the conversation in a very, let's say, multiple person conversation type thing,
Yep.
right? So are you using that for different types of identification? And to what extent that you are able to, what sort of accuracy levels are there and so on and so forth, right? Inside of
Yeah.
that solution set.
Yeah, for the same regulatory application, there's an extension to it. So,
Yeah,
like for instance, sometimes the banks internal have an internal legal counsel.
sure.
Like sometimes the customers got really mad at you, they're gonna sue you, or they're gonna complain to you. They're gonna file regulatory complaints, and then you need to do an internal investigation to find out what's really going on inside.
Right,
All right. Then you, I mean, typically allegation from customers or disgruntled customers is that you told me this, but it's not true. I lost money, blah blah blah, kind of stuff.
right,
And then the banks will have to do internal investigations. But the thing is, for a bank, they don't necessarily know when was the time when we contact this customer. You might say, I have this banker who talks to the customer, but there's so many conversations. Which one was that customer? They don't
right.
necessarily know.
Right.
But they only have a short period of time to react because
Yep.
they're facing an allegation. They're facing someone is trying to attack them. They need to figure out how to respond, right? So that technology, our technology in that aspect is typically used for to identify. So if you know this customer is responding, if you know who that person is, maybe have a conversation with them or figure out a way to get like maybe 10 seconds of the person's voice and put in the system. We're gonna search when was the last time one of our bank's employees talking with this particular individual, and then
Right,
you can figure out a story. So what did we say to the customer? Did we say something that's not good? Did we say something that's not appropriate? And then how do we formulate a response to the regulator, to the customer, or to the lawyer if
right,
they're trying to sue us?
right.
So that's one of the cases we do. But we also do lots of authentications on our bank side. Because one typical example is actually and again for private banks. So private banks actually many of the authentication process. Let's say Neil, you are extremely wealthy, individual. I'm a banker, and you wanna sometimes you wanna place a trade. Sometimes you text me,
Yep.
but often you're gonna call me. You're gonna call me.
Right.
Say, hey, Miles, how is that kind of whatever I was looking at? Oh, it's pretty good. It's why prices could just go down a little bit. Let me help me buy like $1 million US worth of that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Let's do it. And I do it for you. How do I know that was for you? So the typical way for
Oh,
banks
right.
to
That's
know
right.
who the customer is yeah, I know this customer for decades.
Yeah.
I remember his voice, definitely him. It's his phone number, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. So that's actually the traditional way of doing that.
Yep.
But that's not very reliable. So we
Mm.
had this one customer that was a couple of years back. They had they faced it was they were in a dispute with the customer at a little time. They ended up settling the entire stuff, which is and that instance was very simple. Was the customer was calling the banker to place a trade transaction on, I think some accumulator or something like that. And then it just so happened the senior banker was sick at that time.
Okay.
So his assistant banker was providing help.
Yep.
And of course, out of goodwill, the assistant banker was like, yeah, let me ask you some basic information. Ask for name, birthday, some simple questions,
Yep.
and then when the transaction went through.
Right.
And then there was a time when the market just didn't go very well, so the customer lost money,
Yep.
and they came and complained. So it was why I lost money on this one. I didn't place the order. So they came back and investigated. Turned out that it really was not the customer.
It was
It
not.
was not. The
Wow.
sound does not match for the customer. Even the senior bank is that does not sound like the customer.
Right.
And of course they end up settling with the compensation. So
Mm.
that creates an issue of, and there's also that for that customer the senior management start thinking about what if our senior banker left,
Mm.
and are we gonna lose the customer or are we not?
Right.
If we then how long would it take for our junior banker to know the customer so well so they can recognize? And even so, how do we ensure that he does not make a mistake? Because
Mm.
those things can be very costly, right? Especially for ultra high net worth people. So every time they do a trade, it's a lot of money. In fact, every time they lose money, that's a lot of money too.
Right.
So what we do with them is actually we end up saying, how about we do this? How about we help give you an extra layer of defense? We're analyzing your audio anyway. And every time you got a recording coming in and somebody call you, we just turn it real time. Every time somebody calls you, we do a real time, monitoring on what's going on, and then we give you a bank. If your banker says something bad, we're gonna pop them.
Yep.
And at the same time, if the customer says, oh yeah, this is from customer, let's say Neil, for instance, we're gonna compare this audio, the current sound on the caller end, against the last time when this
Right.
customer called you. What was
Right.
the sound? We don't necessarily store your voice print. We don't know who you are on our system level.
Right.
We're only comparing your current voice with the last time. The
Sure.
last time when this bank is known that you are calling the bank,
Right.
we'll compare that. Or the voice you left in the branch,
Right.
we'll compare that. If that matches, we'll say, okay, it's a match.
Right.
Maybe you can go easy on KYC.
Right.
But if it's a mismatch, they'll say it's not a good match.
Right.
Maybe you should go further, because typically sometimes there's a lot of mismatch, right? Because you might be having a cold,
Right.
or you may not be feeling very well,
Right.
or somehow you're having an injury in your throat, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You will sound different.
Right.
So that means this technology will not be like always be there. So that means with
Yep.
times we say we're going to tell you this probably not the same person. You need to go deeper. And typically the way we measure this kind of technology is we typically give about 99.5% accuracy. So then if we say that's really to you, 99.5% of the time it's really you.
Right.
And but of course we have roughly 3 to 4% of time when it's really you, but we say it's not you, right? But
Right,
typically means
right.
you have there's something
False
about
positive or
false positive
yeah,
kind of stuff.
right.
And for speech recognition, we also analyze this contents. This recognition would typically give about 90 to 95% accuracy as well.
Wow.
So most of the time when we deploy, our hard commitment for
Right.
every client is 85 minimum, and typically our range is around between 90 to 95.
Right. Right.
And we don't go above 95
Right.
because human parity is around. So we did lots of human tests. We got a professional transcribers, like people with very keen ears, to sit in a room, listen to the audio, have to listen. We ask them to write it down, everything. And we compare with our machine's output.
Yep.
A human level for human experts for transcribing, domain specific kind of noisy recordings, especially people with the kind of speak multiple languages, is typically around 91 to 93%.
Mm.
So typically we'll be in that range, because sometimes if we got a result like in 97,
Yep.
we got scared because we're better than humans.
Right.
But the thing is, how do we know that it's really correct? Because the ground truth we got is from the humans.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's typically what we look at. We're comfortable within the 50, 90, and 95% range, because that's
Right.
where humans will give you.
Right. Right.
And like not ordinary Joes. We're talking about like professionals.
Right. Right. So now, I mean, you've got the whole AI, all the Gen AI activity that's coming out with all the different deep fakes. Like, how do systems like yours like combat that? Because they can easily just like, I don't know, take your pick. I mean, world leader, XYZ, and they can just kind of create their own virtual human or have the voice and everything like that, right? So how do you kind of combat that?
Yeah, it's a couple of ways to do it. So the way we do this voice biometrics nowadays.
Yep.
So first of all, is if you want to do a kind of synthetic attack,
Yep.
that means somebody need to have your voice first. We're
Right.
not talking about like 3 or 4 seconds. We're talking about high quality speech for at least 20 seconds. Then you can generate something that sounds really good.
Right.
All right, and then so that's something that means your voice has to be on the internet. Somebody need to target you.
Oh, right.
So that means if you're a publicly exposed person, don't use these technologies. Don't rely on this. If this customer is a celebrity, they would say, nah, don't use the biometrics. He's already compromised. They're already compromised.
Right.
Don't rely on these technologies.
Yes.
You need the brick and mortar. Send your banker to the house. See
Right.
them. It's
Like
really him.
physically,
Physically
come to my
examine them.
office,
Yes.
sit in front of me.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you're a celebrity, don't use these technologies. You
Right.
have to rely on the older way, because you're vulnerable
Yes.
for this kind of attacks.
Sure.
So, and the second approach is that after that, for ordinary people, is like this one. Yeah, it's not easy for me to get your audio, but they still can.
Yeah.
But how do we authenticate? There's something that we're doing with that. It's also under kind of something we're under in development. Also doing some in a very advanced pilots, is we do something called dynamic voice ID.
Okay.
Whenever we need to authenticate a person, we don't just take your voice and compare. We do live mini tests. That means if that's a machine, you are talking to a machine, the machine gonna ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
The question will be, what's your name? These are things about your personal information that not everybody's supposed to know. One of the questions will also be like about what's the time right now? Tell me the time.
Sure.
So that means every time the content will be dynamic, and we have like 1,000 different questions we're gonna ask. We're gonna
Right.
randomly pick 3 of them.
Right.
So that means, and then that also means that if somebody trying to have a deep fake to try to beat you,
Yep.
but if they don't know your particulars,
Right.
they're not gonna pass it, because we need a voice to match, we need the answer to match too.
Right.
And more importantly, we're also gonna one of the limitations of deepfake technologies, none of them is real time. Everything needs a pre-processing. That means take a voice, I need to run through this entire model for a couple of seconds, and even have like very powerful machines, you're gonna run to a couple of seconds, and then I can give you an answer. Now, if when we do authentication, we also do a timing. Every time I ask a question, we're gonna time it. When are you gonna give me an answer? If you give me constant delays, I'm gonna flag it. So no, somebody probably trying to attack it.
Right.
So these are things we look for. Of course, you can, in theory, bypass it. As if you have a quantum computer, all right, you have very good scientists, you're targeting the person, and then you can, in theory, you can still get it through it. But it's the same, philosophy in cybersecurity. In cybersecurity world, no walls cannot be broken. Every wall can be broken. It just matter how much money are willing to spend on that. And then the thing, and for even the similar thing for this kind of biometrics attacks, right? So if we make it very expensive, so you need to be a top scientist. You need to have a whole bunch of like very high powerful machines. You need to spend a lot of time social engineering a person.
Yep.
Then the cost of attack is very high.
Right.
Then you better think, is it worth it? If you're a billionaire, maybe worth it. If you're not a billionaire, maybe not worth it. You probably wouldn't bother. But if you're a billionaire, your banker will come to your door anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll just go to you, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
what the whole service is about.
Yes. Yes.
Private banker, right?
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, that's pretty amazing because I think ultimately people are trying to safeguard their data, safeguard their identity. You know, whether it's your physical features or your voice or other. I mean, you know, even facial features you were talking about, like your expressions and things like that.
Yes.
Can you actually tell people's kind of mood, or I mean, do you have like a gauge as well as to these kind of like micro gestures and things like that? Do you do that as well?
We generally don't. We generally
Okay.
don't.
Right.
And the reason why we don't is actually oftentimes when we're doing this compliance stuff.
Right.
So sometimes our technology will end up in the court
Sure.
as a as a way to testify why it is the same person,
Sure.
why he said this, that kind
Right.
of stuff.
Right.
So everything we do is actually we need a so every time we do identification and we do analysis, we need to stay on the ground. That if we need it,
Yeah.
we can come out and speak for it,
Right.
and we can explain why.
Right.
And the reason why we don't have is mood gouge is too subjective. It's like
Right.
lie detector.
Right.
Or the thing
But
is,
then you can hear in the person's voice like they're really scared or they're nervous or they're stressed or things
But
like that.
you
But
can't know.
you can't.
But you can't
But you
tell for
can't.
sure.
Yeah, you can't tell what the reason is behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then
right.
the other part is also because there's a lack of data for that part, from that aspect. So the typical data we're gonna have, the one that's very obvious, are from the professional actors.
Okay.
Extremely exaggerated.
Oh,
Scares,
that's true.
I'm scared.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of stuff. But ordinary people, no.
Right.
You're not like there are people. There are people. I mean, I have friends like that. They can be extremely mad at you.
Yeah.
They look perfectly calm. Their voice is perfectly calm. But they're already mad. They're gonna bash you in the next second. But they're perfectly calm. There are people like that.
Right.
And there's also people who are like they're gonna really exaggerate themselves, but they're just joking.
Right.
But how do you know? I'm scared. This is joke. This is exaggerating. How do you know this really scared?
Right.
That kind of stuff. So these things are we figured these things way too subjective. There's too many uncontrollable factors. We don't have any proper ways to do a large scale, systematic, and scientific measurement. Even when they say this person is 70% angry, 20% anxious, 10% exciting, how do you know?
Right.
How could you validate that? So that's something that's about something about when we do it, we touch a little about legal side on our business as well. Eventually, if we make a claim, you need to prove it. Everything need a company to prove it. But this is something that we cannot prove.
Right. So when I mean, you talked a little bit about financial services space, like the other segments where you talk about industry, also inside of legal. Like, what sort of other applications outside of financial services do you guys cover as well?
Yeah, we have a whole lot of. We work very closely with the likes of China Mobile, and
Okay.
with like China Mobile, Smartone, and CSL, these telecoms. We work with
Sure.
these guys, and also we work with a very close partner with Cathay Pacific.
Okay.
So we work with these people primarily for analyze their call centers, their contact centers.
Right.
So sometimes do it as a chatbot. We help them to how do we, automatically respond to customers' inquiries,
Yep.
and how to make sure that's as natural as possible.
Right.
And of course, some people hate it, and some people like it, some people hate it. So it's subjective, but we try our best to make sure that it's really kind of we're giving you the proper responses, and yes, it's as professional as possible. and we can try to be as helpful as possible. But you can't please anyone, so sometimes when consumers they still yell at you. I don't know, but we do that. We try to automate that
Right,
because otherwise it's gonna be you talk to a bottle, you have to wait. It's gonna be a
right,
way long waiting time. You have to figure it
right,
out. And the other part is we also analyze the contact centers inquiries, the recordings, to find out what's going on. Why did people call you?
right,
And to understand why people call you, they turn these things into optimization methods. How
right,
they can optimize the contact centers. For instance, one of the telecoms we work with them is some very simple stuff. So we work with them. It's like there was like a time they were pushing for 5G plans,
right.
and they do a huge marketing campaign. And of course, when you do marketing, people call you.
Yep.
Right, that's what happens. But the thing is, you want people to call you to buy. You don't want people to call you to inquire.
Right.
Because I'm already marketing, you know it already. So
Yeah.
if you saw it, you should come and buy. Otherwise, you should maybe I don't know
Right.
do something else, right?
Right.
But the thing is, lots of people come in, they say they're not buying. The majority they come and ask questions, and why? It was like turns out at that time, we're actually running analysis for them on the call center for that period of time, from the time after the launch campaign to when people start calling, and of course there's a measurement on how fast people picking up, because initially nobody asked about a particular plan,
Right.
and then the volume start picking up and just go really high.
Right.
And then we analyze it. Initially, everybody was the telecom, the client was thinking about maybe people call because, they want to know about this the migration from like 4G to 5G.
Right.
But no, the top question was about family sharing,
Oh,
because
okay.
5G is the came with all the packages and say how can we share with the family.
Right.
But the thing is the family sharing represent about 55% of total all calls on that period, inquiry calls like pure inquiry
Right.
about a new plan. And the marketing did not even put a mention on 5G family sharing in the
Right.
very
Right.
beginning.
Right.
They never thought that was an issue.
Right.
But turned out that becomes something that they really care
Right.
about. So then they start blasting a new bunch of EDM kind of marketing stuff and tell like we have family planning, this kind of stuff.
Right.
And all of a sudden this coverage goes down
Yep.
and the sales goes up.
Right.
That kind of stuff we actually do lots of optimizations. And the other some other parts optimization we also did was also understanding why they call you, right? The typical example we did was this actually have the mobile app. So they're trying to push people to use their mobile apps
Yep.
to do all different kind of services. And one of the things they're trying to figure out was at that time was trying to there was like I think launch a whole bunch of new features in there. They can start doing new stuff, but there's something wrong with the design. So people didn't necessarily know how to do it, and of course they didn't know. So and there was like a 2 months like this surge in volume, like people calling them and asking about these things. And the thing is, every one of these calls are extremely long
Yep.
because your call center staff did not know either.
Right.
They did not even use their app. They don't know how to use their app. They can't give an answer. So you have to escalate it, kind of
Right.
to get bounced around. People get really
Right.
mad at you.
Right.
So and then we dig it out. They said, oh, there's a feature you should have properly marketed, or maybe you should put it more in a place where it's more obvious in the
Right.
app.
Right.
And they changed it, update it,
Yeah.
and of course, then volume goes down.
Yeah.
That actually saves a lot of money, and also that increases lots of efficiency for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically like the chef has to taste his own cooking or her own cooking and experience that like from a user perspective, and then they can understand how to solve the customer's problems. Kind of.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they keep running into the wall and hitting same pain points that most of the consumers have.
Exactly.
So, maybe kind of switching gears a little bit and talking a little bit about your personal journey, because, you started out in a different sector or a different area, and you kind of got into this area and became an entrepreneur. Like, can you tell us a little bit about this journey that you went through and how you got there?
Yeah, the journey was not smooth. I
Was
think
not
over the
smooth.
yeah, it was
It wasn't like a
nah.
straight shot or anything like that.
No, it was
Very
like a roller coaster. I think
right,
eight
right,
years running the company. I think there was
right.
like 4 to 5 times where we almost died.
Really?
Yeah, no
Four to
kidding.
five
Four or
times you
five
almost
we
like
almost died.
literally just ran out of money, or it was
Yeah,
just
we're almost like trying to hit the wall, trying to almost like I'm gonna die.
wow.
Let's figure it out, like that kind of stuff. We're gonna run through that 4 or 5 times
Right.
for different reasons, for
Right.
different kind of reasons. And then, but I think the entire journey was like, but when I started a company, I'm a pure academia.
Yep.
So is my co-founders. So I just like we're all academia doing. When we started off, we thought we have this great technologies. We have so many papers and so many citations. So people read our papers. Citations mean people read our papers. That means our opinions matter. It's like having a views, like so
Right.
many views on the YouTube. That means
Yes.
people find it interesting.
Right.
In academic world, if you have the citation, if you cite your paper, is nice, right, kind of stuff.
Right.
And then we love that. We thought we're gonna when we come out, so we have so great technology, Everybody come and buy it. Turned out to be wrong. Very, very wrong, actually, as a matter of fact.
Completely wrong.
Completely wrong. Because people don't buy technologies, they buy what's the value for them, right?
Right.
What's the value for me?
Right.
So it took us quite a few years to figure out the use cases. So how this thing will bring benefits? How will this bring value to people?
Right.
Technology itself is really not, well, it's useful, but it's only a means.
Yep.
It's not a goal. The goal is the use case, the value. So it took us quite a lot of time to figure. First of all, it took me a year to really learn that lesson, to really get my mindset right.
So like kind of make the transition from academia to like business.
To a
Right?
business.
Right,
It
right.
took me a whole year to make that transition, because think about academia is like, we go to conferences, you're
Yeah.
always on the spotlight, you go
Yeah.
on stage to present, and then at that time when in school, I'm wearing Hong Kong U badge, right? I'm a
Yeah.
professor, kind of an academic badge. We go to the industry, the
Right.
company, everybody sit down and listen.
Yeah.
But once you no longer wear the badge, the people are like, "Who are you?" kind of stuff, right? So, and it took me a little while to figure out that part.
Right.
And after that, it was like, and the next question was, yes, now I need to look at the industry, look at applications. What am I gonna do? I had I had no working experience at the time.
Right.
I was my entire career before like Fano was my company was academia.
Right.
I have no idea how banks work. I have no idea how all corporates work. So I still remember there was a time I was talking with a kind of a mentor and a friend called Simon. It's a very senior guy, and working in another organization. And then it was like one time I was talking with them. So he say, "Yeah, hey, Simon, we're hitting walls. We're not getting anywhere."
Right.
This is around, I think, back in 2017 or ish.
Right.
And Simon says, "Miles, I think there's one thing you haven't got it right. So you are trying to sell to this large organization. You're talking to the airports, you're talking about airlines, that kind of stuff. This is a very serious business. Everything we do, there are consequences if things go wrong.
Yeah.
You're bringing me this new product, the trial, this kind of stuff, something chasing. You gotta convince them that this is not gonna bring a time bomb. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
right.
a-okay. It's not gonna bring a bomb to them.
Right.
Nobody
Right.
gonna be able to defuse it
Yeah.
if it goes off."
Yeah.
And that learned lesson, yeah, I have to wear, in addition to use cases, the values, and to
Yes.
think from our clients' perspectives. What kind of risk are we bringing to them?
Right.
And do we have ways to address the risks? That kind
Right.
of stuff. Just look at the other angles. And of course, we went through so many different kind of, up and downs, different trial and errors. I think we tried, and our first product I actually took off was around about chatbots.
Okay.
So our first customer we launched a voice enabled, trilingual, multi-Cantonese English trilingual chatbot for CLP.
Okay.
That was back in 2016.
Wow.
2016, 2017.
Right, right.
That was before chatbot was a term.
Yep.
At that time, we called it AI concierge because the term chatbot was not even invented. So we launched it first for them. And then there was first one in industry. That was the good history. That was our first industry launch case. I was really excited. But then now we hit walls after that.
Right.
We did a couple of projects, we did a couple of big clients after that, and we hit walls. Because this is really hard to scale. For us, chatbots require so much services. It's you can do very good technologies, but you just have to, for every industry, you have to customize it for a little bit. So, and then it's not scaling very well. And also, we're trying to figure out something. We start thinking about something new.
Right.
How can we do more? And I was looking at
So
all
you
the
basically
data.
pivoted out of chatbots and went in a different direction.
Yes, we still have chatbots.
Right.
But we say this is something that we're gonna keep doing, but it's
Sure.
not gonna be our growth engine. We need something else to give us growth.
Yes.
And then we look at the analytics part.
Right.
There's call centers. If we can analyze this, we did one exercise. We just did like the kind of 5G stuff.
Yep.
It's like we spent like a day or so working on it. We're just analyze it, and there we go. We saved like millions of dollars.
Wow.
Like we did the math. That's several $1 million. I said, damn, that's easy. Well, that's not easy, but it's
Right,
like
right.
this is something that's like this have a leverage. Something beauty of technology is give you a leverage.
Right.
All right, you need to get these things done, but if you have a leverage with the technology, you can like give 100 times leverage. That's the value of it. So that's something we should do. So when we start really going deep on this analytics part, so the call center stuff, and then at some point it was really going very well, and then COVID came.
Oh.
And during
right.
COVID, all this industry was like collapsing. It was like, not working. It's like nobody's investing money.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out what's going on after that.
Right.
And then at that time, we needed further pivot. It was realized it was like we were visited by a couple of clients, actually some of them from government, some of the banks from bank side. So and then they told me that they have this huge problem. They have so many audit and analyze for issues, the red flags. And then we tested our system. It worked perfect. It was fantastic. We saved them a lot of money. We give them lots of time,
Right.
and we help them find whatever they're looking for at the time.
Right.
And then I realized this is something that's great because that was a bad economy. That was 2020, late 2020,
And
early.
everybody was going online, right? I mean, everybody was basically
Yes,
doing online banking or,
yes, and then
voice.
that was the time when the stock market was surging.
Yeah.
Everybody stay home. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Buy stocks. You buy,
Yeah.
you trade.
Right. Right.
Everybody become a trader almost like that.
Right.
So the
So,
risk level
right.
on the banks just grows tremendously.
Right. And how to de-risk was you. Right.
Yes, and then all of a sudden, there's all risk control guys that got really scared.
Right.
What's going on? I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening. And
Yeah.
then we realized that's something we can find out. And
Right.
also at that time, we had when we try to find that use case, I was internally talking to my investors, talking to my directors and my senior management, and say, hey, we need to find a new angle, like new direction, either a product, feature, or a new market where our customers are going to pay us very well, even in the market, even when the market is going very badly.
Right.
We need a use case like that because we had when we do a customer service, it's more like when the market is going down, they're gonna slash budget from that department for sure.
Right.
But compliance is like no, you're gonna spend the money
Yeah.
unless you wanna just completely move away your business. Otherwise, you're gonna spend the money.
Right.
So that's where we start looking into this industry. So we started in looking at compliance since 2021,
Right.
late 2020, early 2021. It's been quite successful. We got, I think the majority of the largest banks in the region are working with us. Yeah, most of the ones you can on the top of our list.
Sure.
They're probably our clients already. Because we're not supposed
Right.
to name them, but they're
Yeah.
like you just there's just only so many of them anyway.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
so that's with the entire journey. I think one of my experience actually also my team is actually I think that's also in the bones of my culture, in our company culture is we have this no BS culture. We say if we don't know, don't know. Tell people we don't know, and then we ask. Okay, it's like typically when somebody we go out to clients for feedbacks all the time.
Yep.
So even if somebody, somebody turn me down, I say, okay, no problem. Just I don't want to change your decision. I don't intend to do it. It's okay to turn me down, but would you be able to give me some feedbacks?
Mm.
So we take feedbacks a lot, and also we do spend a lot of time studying to learn about new industries. For legal part, this came actually very recently. There's a legal start coming out, and then actually nowadays, I think for almost half a year, I spend more time reading law papers than reading engineering papers and AI papers because I figure that's more interesting and that's more relevant because I need to understand what's going on
Right.
before I can really like tell the customers whether it's something they can use.
Yep.
So there's also something that it's really eventually just become part of our culture, part of our gene. So everyone in my team, we just we learn a lot, we try to grow, we try to understand because we made it clear on day one that we might not win, probably not the expert
Right.
in what you're doing. You are the expert. But guess what? We're good in AI. We're good in technologies, and we're also being quite some experience forming different solutions and kind of working with different industries. How about you tell me how things work? What's your pain point? And then I'm gonna study, and I'm gonna come back show you something that figure out some proposals how we can possibly solve a problem. We can do pilots, and after that, feeling really good, we can push forward to it. We typically try to take that tone.
Right.
So we have the reputation, generally have reputation. We don't oversell. We like to be, we typically undersell a little bit. So we can give you like 100%. We say, probably 80%.
Yeah.
You'll be happy if I give you 90. If I tell you I'm gonna give you 100, you only end up getting 90. You're not gonna be very happy.
Right. 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 Always exceed expectations. Right.
Yes. So we have the culture of going that way. So
Right.
there's good and bad sometimes.
Right.
Investors don't like me for, understay a little bit sometimes.
Sandbagging.
Yeah, but I think it's it's for the sake of long term. That's
Yeah.
gonna be better.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So what's the most? I guess what use case have you? I guess either saved the most for your client or have exceeded the KPI beyond belief. Like, is there any particular use case that or a specific case that you've gone through? Like, hey, we found this particular piece of evidence and that saved the bank X, Y, and Z, or so said so and so X, Y, and Z. I mean, is there some sort of like, what is the case study or the one that you would display on the top of the shelf?
There are so many actually. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
So on the non-banking side,
Yeah.
there was actually one large, kind of service provider. We are working with them. We work with them on churn prevention.
Okay.
Churn prevention. Turnovers.
Turnover of their
Yes.
of their
Because
customers.
the customers, yes.
Yeah.
Because they're running on like telecoms, right? It's like telecom industry. They're running on, subscriptions. Like you
Absolutely.
pay a monthly fees, you sign a 2-year contracts, and then after that you renew or you leave. But the thing is, every time you sign 2 years, if a customer leaves,
Yeah.
you don't see the customer again in 2 years' time.
Yep.
So that's a lot of money could be lost. So that's why they have retention. It was like when you before you expire, they're gonna look for if you're already going talking about I'm gonna leave, and then somebody probably gonna call you,
Yes.
and they do that based on the like whoever contact center guys will drop a note, and they're gonna pass to the retention. They're gonna call you, and they just call you and say, hey, can you stay? We're gonna better offers.
You mean
That's
this is kind of like almost crossing immigration? Is like this guy looks really fishy.
no, but
Like, pull him to the side and like search his bags.
no, 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 it's not like that. It's not like that. The way they do it, they used to do it is very primitive.
Yeah.
It's really like somebody dropped a note, hey, this guy might be leave, he says he's gonna leave, and then the call center staff gonna pass to the other team, the retention team, and they're gonna call you.
Right.
By the time they call you, they have no context of why. They just say, hey, I'll give you a better offer. How about
Just
that?
like right away, hey, I give you a 10% discount, 20% discount,
like
whatever
that.
the number is.
Something
right?
like that, right?
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, first of all, and we run an exercise like, when we do, so let's how about we get AI to automatically pass the information along.
Right.
All right. First thing is like, turns out that 30% of this kind of customer leaving,
Yeah.
they're not getting passed by the humans.
Right.
No, we'll capture the 30%.
Oh,
So
I
that
see.
typically when
Right,
they
right.
call you to give you a return offer,
Sure.
the renewal rate was around 55%.
Right.
So half of the time they're gonna say yes,
Yes.
So that means 25%. Now we'll give you now that was not even captured. Now we're gonna have it.
Right.
And the other part is also there are also a whole bunch of other customers that did not explicitly tell you they're gonna leave, but they end up leaving. And who are the customers? Like if a customer actually, we had a very interesting analysis at that time. It's like if a customer calls you within the past year, and then they'll call you about some problem they have with the network.
Right.
If that's one single problem, you're being too expensive, the chance of leaving is very low.
Okay.
If only call you once, talk about one problem, the correlation with the leave departure, now on looking at historical data,
Sure.
is near zero.
Right.
But if they call you for two reasons, like your
Like
network,
in the same conversation, two reasons.
no, they call you twice. Well, like
I'll call you
one,
two separate incidences.
yes,
Right.
or one instance we mentioned two different stuffs,
Yep.
or more different stuffs.
Right.
Then that will have about 85% correlation with the actual departure.
Sure.
And that these are things they might not explicitly say they're gonna leave, but they end up leaving.
Right.
So the things that we cover is like, hey, how about call these guys?
Right.
And by the time when the retention call you, they don't give you the offer.
Right.
They will say, hey, I know this problem we're gonna have. I know network is not very well. In your near your house, we're gonna set up a new base station there. We're gonna improve next year.
Right.
Stay with us. Then they're gonna stay. You're not giving discounts.
Yeah.
But you're gonna stay.
Right.
All right. That kind of stuff. So that particular case, I think based on the number we saw from the customer, I think we're saving them several tens of millions every year, and just for this one,
Right.
just for make sure the customer don't leave.
Right.
Because the way they measure it, actually every time they lose a customer, that's 2 years worth of contract.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
Right.
In Hong Kong standards, 2-year contracts typically a monthly plan is somewhere between 200 to 300
Right.
Hong Kong dollars per month.
Right.
So cheaper ones 100-ish,
Yeah.
but on average about 200.
Right.
I mean, 200 per month. We're talking about 2,400 per year. So
Right.
that's almost, 5,000 for 2 years.
Right.
So every customer is worth that much for 2 years.
And then, yeah, I mean, it's not even talking about the cost of acquisition for those customers,
Yes.
right? Because that front end spend that you have to do for marketing and conversions is also not figured
Yes.
inside of that.
So that KPI, the return on investment for that piece was off the chart.
Yeah.
It was like everybody's so freaking happy, right? So of course we also have other users. Control also it has extremely high KPIs, extremely high return on investments.
Right.
Because they don't necessarily measure a cost, but just like typically the banks do control the KPIs sometimes about what's the percentage of coverage, sometimes about I'm gonna sample, let's say 10,000 per year,
Right.
recordings per year. So something like that. Then the question becomes how many people do they have to provision? If they only say I'm gonna listen to 10,000 per year, how many people do I need to process 10,000?
That's right.
And the other side is also if they say we're gonna do a percentage, then how many people do we need to provision that? So they typically benchmark on a cost level. And the other part, of course, they also do in theory, we have all those transactions we have like 100,000 audios coming up every year, and among them roughly 20,000 are transaction related. And about the 20,000 transactions, in theory, we need to cover all of them.
Right.
How much manpower do we have?
Right.
And how much manpower do we have to find out which 2,000, 20,000 out of 100,000 are the ones we're looking for?
Right.
So they have cost metrics on that particular aspect. Those are money they never spend, but they really want to spend. They just can't figure out a budget, and the cost for running our system to do all the things. They got a positive return probably in 2 months into
Easily.
Very easy,
Very
extremely
easy.
easy. And they say, all this money, it's value for money.
Yeah. instantly, right?
So we're doing lots of those kind of things. It's again, it's for leverage. So leverage
Right.
technology is really for large organizations. You spend $1, you get $10 in return,
Right.
something like that.
Right.
That's leverage.
Right.
Yeah.
What's sort of the roadmap for Fano? I mean, just kind of looking at the future, where are you guys headed? What sort of product development are you guys looking at? What sort of use cases are you trying to target maybe as the next phase of growth? So,
Yeah, we're actually right now we're spending more time working with the financial industry,
yep.
and also we're also spending our strength. Actually, we're an enterprise space, so we have a financial industry, the existing call center industry, and also government sector.
Right.
So one of the things we do is actually we say we are constantly. We don't necessarily say we're gonna do this and that. We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna work with this bank, this customers we have,
Right.
to investigate more use cases with them. Because
So
many
almost like co-creation type.
co-creation
Yeah.
type stuff.
Right.
Because one thing we learned is actually our secret sauce. It's not secret sauce, but it's like our way to success at the moment is we try not to like think about what you need and we create it for you.
Right.
We're gonna ask you precisely what you're gonna need, how you work, and we say, oh, this is how you work, and this is what I think AI can help. Let's do a pilot. If it works, if we see that this entire industry would need it, we'll branch it out. We'll
Right.
sell to the industry.
Sure.
So most of the time we have lots of this conversation with our customers that we co-create. And
Right.
and that's also what give us the majority of our product, by the way. It was not like I thought about it, yeah, it's gonna work, I'm gonna do it. It's never like that. Most of our product was inspired for our client.
Mm.
And that has been how we been coming so far. I
Right.
would like to keep it that way. And of course, we as we geographically, we're also expanding since open Hong Kong. We got reconnected to the world.
Right.
We're actively expanding to the global market right now.
Okay.
So we set up an office in Singapore around summer this year.
Right.
So and then we got employees over there. So we're starting to have contracts coming from Singapore, from Malaysia, and from many parts of Southeast Asia. So some of our clients are multinational banks. They're
Yep.
also looking to bring us to Europe. Europe also have a similar issue of multilingual.
Right.
So it's very easy to find. It's interesting. It's very easy to find a European guy who can speak 4 to 5 languages. It's very hard to find an American guy speak 2 or 3 languages, right? So that's like these are monolingual countries, but European is very very similar in a sense to Asia. It's like
Right.
people are multilingual.
Right. And so you're basically looking down south to Southeast Asia and also going out west more into Europe and so forth, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of like the geographic expansion.
Yes.
Now, if you kind of look at the future of the AI sort of market or the trends inside of AI, maybe you can share a little bit about your views on that area. I mean, there's so much stuff that's happening in there and that type of development. Where do you think that we're headed there?
No, I think funny thing is I started doing AI. Let me tell a joke. It's a very funny joke. Before 2015, when we were doing, I'm still academia. So every time we had a student graduating from research lab doing AI,
Yep.
our first advice is when you go look for a job, do not tell people you're doing AI. Say anything.
Why?
Computer science, mathematics,
Right.
programming, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Just know AI. Maybe take big data, whatever it is, right? Just know AI. Because people think you're a liar, they're gonna throw you out the door.
All right.
All right, that was the mentality before, in the early days.
It was like super early. Like they're
Yeah,
like this
then-
guy is just like using a computer to do
Yes.
mathematics or some kind of
Yes,
stuff.
and now it's
and
the
he's-
opposite.
Yeah.
Now it's like we have students statistics coming from business schools. I'm doing AI.
Yeah.
People doing mathematics. Yeah, I'm doing AI. Everybody's saying
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
It's very interesting to see how this thing changed.
Right.
But in any case, we've been doing AI for so long, this technology for so long. So in the technology, first of all, it's never something that from consumers. That's all of a sudden it came out. But in research field, it's really like that.
Right.
It's always a incremental change over time. You gradually build on. We build on top of the shoulders of the giants. Gradually make it higher and higher and higher and better and better.
Right.
There were also before we had this current kind of a big hype, like big excitement about AI. We had another one back in 2018-19, if you remember. That was the time when AlphaGo won the Go game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that was
Right.
like the
That's
entire
right.
market, the world was boiling. It's like just AI is gonna kill us, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And a couple of years later, they say, oh no AI anymore. And then now it's all back.
And now it's all back.
Yeah, so-
and even stronger.
Yeah.
Like 10 times, 100 times stronger. Right?
Yes, but my general view is, when I look at this, is there's kind of ups and downs all the time.
Right.
So I think there are definitely lots of achievement we're doing right now in the AI community.
Right.
There's also a whole bunch of hypes, and to some degree, it's a little bit overhyped for the large language models, which is, they're useful, they're good, they're definitely very good, very powerful, but it's not like omni powerful, like a godlike kind of stuff
Not
people
yet.
describe. Not that.
Perfect.
It's
Like, Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
some
still
of the
like
people inside of conspiracy theories think that we're going to get there at one
no,
point,
but
right?
these kind of guys they conspired about it, 5 years ago.
Yeah,
This conspired about since 20 years, 10 years, 20 years ago.
right,
And when
right,
we had a first kind of a calculator that conspired about a calculator is going to be the human machine, and because they thought calculation is only something human can do, and then now a machine can do it.
right.
The kind of stuff, right? I mean, people always fantasize about it, which is fine.
Sure.
That's why we have a dreams, right? That's what humans do. We dream about it. But it's I think when I look at the like real applications or down the ground,
Yeah,
it's still like the incremental changes. We're getting some new perspective. We know something more can be done, but it's not like it can do everything for us.
right.
We still like we have also this another joke in our community is a general AI,
Yeah,
the general artificial intelligence,
yeah,
it's gonna be 5 years from now,
right.
and then 10 years ago it's gonna be 5 years from now. 5 years ago we said it's gonna be 5 years from now. Today we're gonna say 5 years from now as well. I can bet you 5 years later we're gonna say it's gonna be 5 years from now. From 5 years to time,
Right, right,
because the thing is it's just gonna be like the definition is not there. And
right,
just like a whole bunch of stuff, we're just keeping it and making it better. We think about new use cases.
right.
Eventually, as a technology, I view AI as a tool,
Mm,
and we are tool makers,
right.
and tools needs to serve the means.
Yeah,
It's just the means need to serve the purpose, and we define the purpose.
right,
And the key is where is the purpose? What are we doing with this?
right,
So I think it's there's something that for me is like where AI is going to be working on. I
right,
think all the hype, all the excitement will cool down, very very soon.
right. Oh, you think it's going to take a step, like kind of take a breather, you mean?
You're gonna play breather. It will be there. Like AI will be there, which really this current like wave of large language models will really bring lots of, excitement in society. Everybody knows about it. Everybody's excited about it.
Right.
But the hype will come to the end.
Why? Why will it kind of slow down? Because it's just kind of like
No, it's
massive hockey stick. It's
it's
just
already getting slowed down in some aspects
okay.
because large language model been there for like a year already.
Sure.
What are the killer apps?
Yep. Still remains to be seen. Everything is kind of
Exactly.
like built into, all the different search engines and things like
Yes,
that.
those
But
are
then it's
things.
like, there haven't been any. There's tons of apps actually. There's tons of apps, but no killer app per
Yeah.
se, right? Yeah.
Yes. What is the thing they use every day?
Yeah.
Well, co-piloting maybe Microsoft one. I think a
Sure.
lot. I use that every day. But
Right.
what else? Coding, yes, it's useful. What
Right.
else? Right.
Right.
Those are things. I think the hype will be gone is because when the time when people say, hey, we're not seeing so many, kind of killer apps.
Right.
Maybe time to take a step back and think about what should we properly use it. What's the right expectation for it? So as a technologist, I myself are really the top thing I'm scared of is people giving unexpected, like very unrealistic expectations
Yep.
on technologies.
Right.
That scares me a lot
Right.
because if you have really unrealistic expectation, how am I supposed to deliver?
Right.
If I'm a professor, if I'm still academia, I don't give a shit, right?
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't care. I just talk.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have to deliver,
You
right?
don't have to execute.
Yeah, what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. But if as a company, if somebody give me unrealistic expectations, oh, come on, I cannot sign a contract with you.
Right.
I can't do it.
Yes.
And it's not like we're a relatively small company compared with Microsoft. You can't. I mean, we can't walk away from things like if we tell you something we're gonna do something, we can't do it.
Yeah.
That's gonna hurt us very big time. We
Right,
can't walk
right.
away from it.
Yeah.
We need to safeguard our reputation for that.
Yeah.
And there's also sometimes if you overpromise a little bit or they have unrealistic expectations, you can't deliver.
Right.
It was just gonna be a lose for everyone.
Right. Right.
So that's something that I fear the most. So I think the hype will be off for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Probably hopefully within the next couple of months, people will start cool down a little bit. Like
Right.
just to really think, what is the value out of it? What is
Right.
the goal for this new wave of AI?
Right. Right.
When you look at it, we're throwing all this computational resources, spend so all the money on this, large models. Is that something that we really need? Do we
Right.
really need these larger models? Maybe somehow we need smaller models.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. And
Sure.
then also look at those things. Where can we actually really using this? What's the value it can bring to us?
Right.
Maybe other than helping you do a homework. Right.
Like basically the daily utility. It's like basically the like the Apple Watch or something like that. Like you put it on every day, tracks all your different movements, all the steps and things like that. What is that application, right?
Yes.
That's kind of like the way that you see it is.
Yes. So, but it will be there. It will be there definitely will be some killer applications.
Yeah.
But I think right now it's just still it will take a little time for it to come. And there's also there probably just be a handful of those. It will not be like just everywhere.
Right.
And then the excitement will come down very soon.
Right.
I assume.
Very cool. Miles, we could be here sitting here for hours talking about this stuff, but I know you got to take off, so I really appreciate you coming in, having a chat with us and talking a little bit about your business and your personal journey. So really appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
me.
Really appreciate it.